What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another F1 video, F1 Friday, Flashback Friday. Now, shout out to my guy, Evolution of Things, all credit goes to him. We have Formula F1 cars evolution from the 50s all the way to now. We probably do know how some of these cars have evolved just because of, seeing, older drivers and seeing the cars that they had, stuff like that. Now, we probably have done some similar to this as well, but I don't know if we really talk about like the evolution. You know what I mean? The evolution. Hey, cringe as fuck. But anyway, first thing first, how's everybody doing? I hope you guys are doing good. Really, very well. It's lovely sun. Oh, almost a Sunday. Friday. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot bit better. Should be good to go. Type of, stomach bug, little flu. But yeah, man. Big race this weekend. Obviously, we are in Aussie land. 1 a.m. race. So make sure you guys do get your pre-game naps in. All my East Coast boys. Make sure you guys do get your your pre-match, your pre-race naps. Get you some late night, early morning snacks. Because we should be live for that. Looking forward to it, man. We have been live for the first 3 races. You guys have been very, very enjoying it. But if you guys are not doing the watching alongs, make sure you guys do, man. We hang out, pretty good time, smooth vibes, watch the race, chit chat, interact. You know what I mean? We make fun of drivers. Obviously, not really this year because Latifi's not there. But anyway, we still need fine drivers, to talk about, laugh about. But it's all good and fun. It's all jokes and fun. No harm intended. Anyway, man, let's go and get started. See what it's talking about. Don't forget to like the video. Sub as well as always. Let's start. Let's get it.
In this video, we are looking at the evolution of Formula One cars.
No do-rag today.
The top level of motorsport is Formula One, F1. It's one of the rare sports that transcends its niche audience and attracts a global following since it's the fastest and most technologically advanced racing series on the planet. It's true that Formula One has been around for nearly 70 years.
That is dangerous.
Before we begin, please like the video, subscribe to my channel,
just because
and press the bell icon.
If they crash, stuff like that, it's no like.
The history of Formula One. Although many innovative motorsports have come and gone, Formula One has endured. Established in 1950, it is one of the world's oldest racing series and the most popular and lucrative type of car racing.
And that's what I did understand at first when I was first seeing like F1 stuff like that. It is like the longest, like obviously racing series now, which I get now. But because when I was first hearing about it and seeing about it, just like, what the hell is Formula One? Who the hell is Max Verstappen? Well, I used to call him Max Verstappen or Verstappen. But yeah, I was just like why are people so really interested in Formula One? That's when they're like, dude, this it's been around.
Even more pivotal to the development of Formula One were the other races conducted in the 1930s. After World War II, the series moved to specially built racetracks, whereas in the 1930s racing was still done on public highways. Spectators needed to be shielded from the car's high speeds, and the show needed to improve without endangering the drivers. The birth of F1, 1950–1959. In 1950, Silverstone, England played host to the inaugural Formula One race, which also took place on London's public streets. That same year, the British Grand Prix hosted the inaugural Formula One World Championship race, which has continued annually since then. There was Grand Prix racing, the pinnacle of international competition, which took place on road courses until the 1930s, and there was Formula Libre racing, an open-wheeled form of competition that took place on a variety of surfaces. Even though there were also Formula One and Formula 2 races, Formula Libre competitions were the main attraction. During F1's formative years, British teams like BRM, Connaught, and Nigel Norman Racing dominated the sport.
BRM.
Many of the drivers were also of British descent. Formula One vehicles from this era also stood out in comparison to those of today. The cars of the era were also open-wheeled, but the engines were in front of the driver. 1960–1969, big changes. Formula One changed dramatically from its first decade into the second, and the 1960s were the conclusion of an era in motorsports. A rise in racing deaths and a change in emphasis away from Europe both highlighted this decade.
Yeah.
In the 60s, there was an alarming increase in Formula One fatalities.
Jeez.
In the first decade of the series, only 2 drivers were killed. However, more than 30 drivers lost their life in the 1960s. Because of the increasing number of deaths, the show's focus and priorities shifted significantly in 1968. Johan Rindt was given the Formula One Drivers' Championship after his death in 1970. He was the first and only driver to receive this honor in this manner.
Dang.
A new era in Formula One began in the same year, with the addition of the Constructors' Championship to the Drivers' Championship, which had been awarded annually since 1950. 1970–1979, a decade of change. As the 1970s progressed, Formula One began to expand beyond its European roots and become a truly international sport. Even while Britain continued to be the sports epicenter and the site of most events, several other countries started participating in the series during this decade. Formula One cars with turbochargers were also introduced during this decade, ushering in a trend toward cleaner, more fuel-efficient engines that has persisted to the present day.
That's nice.
There was a shift in Formula One's focus from the drivers and teams to the fans in the 2000s. This includes the use of on-board camera systems for broadcasting races and the advent of computerized timing and scoring systems.
Just going back over the deaths right quick, that sucks. I never want to see anybody get killed in a crash. Never see you really don't want to see anybody get hurt in any race, stuff like that. Real unfortunate, but I think with the way cars are now, stuff like that, it's really, really advanced that in terms of the safety and all that. So that's really, really, really good to see. But man, the evolution of so much has happened since the 50s in terms of F1.
1980–1989, further innovations. Formula One entered its first really contemporary era in the 1980s. Formula One vehicles have become more aerodynamic and powerful thanks to the advent of carbon fiber chassis this decade. There was an increase in the usage of sophisticated digital data systems and the development of electronic traction and launch control systems. The 1980s also marked the start of Formula One's global expansion, which would continue throughout the 1990s and the 2000s.
Shout out to the 80s.
In the 1980s, every continent with a significant human population hosted a Formula One event, thanks to the advent of the Brazilian and Japanese Grands Prix as well as the return of the United States Grand Prix, which had not taken place there since 1960. The 1980s saw a major shift in Formula One as the sport became increasingly commercialized. While the majority of Grand Prix racing was still privately supported in the mid-1980s, a global economic downturn necessitated that teams explore alternative funding mechanisms.
My God, get off the wall.
1990–1999, enter the new millennium. The 1990s were the beginning of the show's global presence, marking the end of its existence as a predominantly European-centric series. Another notable trend of the 1990s was the increase of corporate sponsorship in place of individual donors. In the 1990s, Bernie Ecclestone was instrumental in F1's expansion around the world, by facilitating the creation of new races in various parts of the world. Some entirely new circuits, like the Brazilian Autodromo de Interlagos, the Japanese Suzuka circuit, and the Canadian circuit Gilles Villeneuve, were also inaugurated during this decade.
I think, even going back to that as well, the commercializing of F1, I think really, really played a big part. I've always felt that as well. You know, how the A's really took off because of it, really specializing in it. And we have seen sports in general when they have started to commercialize internationally. Obviously, F1, like you said, it's mainly like a European type of thing. You know, really back in Great Britain, UK, whatever. And now it's, you know, it's Japan, Canada, Brazil, Mexico, Aussie land, France, Italy, stuff like that. Like the reach that it's gotten in all these different countries, with bringing all these new fans, commercial views, you know, new drivers, you know, stopping from the Dutch, Checo Perez from, you know, Mexico, Lewis Hamilton from Britain. Like, that's why I think having Logan Sargent in the U.S. is so important, just because of just the U.S. fan base here. Obviously, basketball, American football is like our dominant sports here, but you know, having a F1 driver who's in F1, and like I said, Sargent, hopefully he can, you know, he continues to, you know, showcase his skills. You know, decent start, you could say, to start a season. Hopefully, we get, you know, more future Jericho. I think we have him before. Obviously Andretti, stuff like that. I think Scott Speed. I think not even really want to mention Scott Speed, but Andretti, stuff like that. But it's been a minute since we really had like a U.S. driver. So hopefully we do get more in the future. Hopefully we get one who's hey, who knows, man? He could go crazy. He could be a freaking stud.
Many advancements in technology and safeguards were also introduced during this time period.
Hopefully it's Sargent. Hopefully Sargent
Semi-automatic transmissions, first utilized by the Ferrari team, electronic traction control, and groove tires are just a few of the major innovations introduced to the championship this decade. 2000 onwards, the current state of the art. Formula One had through an even more dramatic shift in the 2000s than the 1990s. In this decade, the series introduced new types of cars, expanded the types of teams that may participate, and modified its presentation style. For instance, at FanDuel Sportsbook, customers can wager on their preferred sporting event.
Oh yeah.
The series made an effort to slow down and make things safer in the 2000s.
How would you even bet?
The year 2009 marked the debut of Kinetic Energy Recovery Systems, or KERS, marking the beginning of the hybrid era in Formula One. The current Formula One logo debuted during this decade. It was the first redesign of the series branding since the 1980s.
Jeez.
Lewis Hamilton, the 2008 World Drivers' Champion, drives the Mercedes F1 W05 Hybrid to victory. For the Bahrain, China, Malaysia, and Spain Grands Prix, the F1 icon drove a Mercedes F1 W05 Hybrid and won each race. Mercedes' F1 W05, the first car to use a hybrid powertrain, used a PU106A 1.6-liter V6 turbocharged hybrid engine.
Okay, like stuff like that, PUXQXY squared engine, stuff like that, I don't think I would ever really understand. I've told you guys that, but like, when it comes to to break down the car and stuff like that, like the engines, the tech, like it's cool. I'm still trying to learn to a degree, but my main thing is just watching the races, drivers.
Only Mercedes, Ferrari, and Renault had hybrid engines that were up to the 2014 FIA standards. For the 2015 season, the output of the new engine was increased to 870 horsepower.
I've seen that one before.
Over-wheel winglets and wheel covers, previously used in F1 in 2009, were standard equipment for all cars in the 2022 season. Tire protectors. In the past, F1 cars' performance suffered because the spinning wheels disturbed the air around them.
Oh yeah.
As a result of this phenomena, F1 car performance dropped by as much as 46%.
Oh my God.
To address this issue, manufacturers have begun offering 18-inch tires with wheel winglets. In the world of auto racing, the old is often made new again. The Formula One World Championship is a prime example. For decades, fans around the world have witnessed this renowned motorsport go through a seemingly endless cycle of change and growth, with nearly every new season introducing its own set of subtle but significant regulation updates. Despite this, the Formula One Grand Prix continues to be one of the world's most difficult, fast-paced, and spectacular sporting events, so it's instructive to trace its history. Formula One has seen many transformations since its inception, and its potential future developments are intriguing to contemplate. This was
That was amazing. That was amazing. That was amazing. Very, very amazing. Just how much I learned stuff like that. That was... See how F1 cars were like before, it wasn't really protected that well. Obviously, there was still racing stuff like that, how it originated. Now to see, the whole, tires, the new data that was really, and technology that was incorporated in cars. You see like the little dashboard, stuff like that. And then now the way that is, dude. Absolutely amazing. Very, very good job. Shout out to Evolution of Things as always. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. It's always been love you guys and girls. Anyway, take care. Stay amazing. We'll talk to you guys this weekend. Yeah, this weekend. Peace.